My name is Adela Hale, and at 28 years old, you're the failure in the family, my dad said quietly. Why can't you be more like your sister? My mom added, like it was just a fact. I stayed silent. 5 minutes later, I handed them this. Once they opened it, the entire room went silent. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. I wish I could say their words hit me like a slap, that it felt like some new kind of pain, but honestly, I just mentally added it to the list I've been keeping since I was 10. And on that running tally of actual things my parents have said to me, this one landed somewhere between, you should find something easier, and, well, you've always lived in your own little world. I went back and forth for days about whether to even show up to that dinner. It wasn't a holiday, no Christmas, no Thanksgiving, just a little family get-together, as my mom put it in the group chat. I've left 3 times and been added back to 3 times. I showed up without enthusiasm, but with a box. My mom opened the door. "Oh, you came," she said, with that half smile she does, more like a twitch in the corners of her mouth than an actual expression. "Hi," I said. "Well, come on in. We'll pour you some tea. Just take your shoes off. I just cleaned the floors." I took off my boots. No one poured me tea. Kendra was already there, of course. She was lounging on the couch in some cashmere miracle, in a color I can only describe as desert sand rebranded as luxury, scrolling through her phone. In most houses, someone might have said, "Hey, put that away. We're having dinner." But in ours, everyone just waited for her to speak so they could all nod in agreement. "Oh, wow, Adela, a ponytail. So, comfortable," she said, stretching the word comfortable, like it physically hurt her to say it. I smiled the kind of smile that says, "I hear you. I just don't react anymore." Dad was carving the turkey. Mom, meanwhile, launched into yet another monologue about Kendra's latest project, some charity market or photo studio or something. I've lost track. She's like a little engine. Mom beamed, looking at Kendra like she invented electricity. "Yeah," Dad added. "Wish you had that in you." "Save. Wish you had that in you." I just kept eating my salad in silence. Then came the gifts part. Kendra's birthday was last week, and this week she was, quote, going through a rough Mercury retrograde, which apparently justified receiving pearls. They handed her a box, real pearl earrings. I recognized the brand. "Oh my God, you guys," she said, in that tone that meant this is exactly what I expected. Then they handed me a book. Mom gave me a one-armed hug. "It's actually really helpful. How Do Love Change. It's funny too," she added. I thanked her with a closed-mouth smile. Then I stood up. "I brought something too. It's in the car. One gift for all of you." They exchanged glances. "Well, now you've got us curious," Mom said. I stepped outside, opened the trunk, and took out the box from me. Silver, matte finish, tied with a plain white ribbon. I wasn't going for theatrics, honestly. I just didn't want it to look like I showed up empty-handed. Back in the living room, I set the box on the table. "Here," I said, "one gift for everyone." "Ha! Group therapy gift card?" Kendra smirked. "Don't be nasty," Mom said, but she was smiling too. Mom untied the ribbon, lifted the lid, paused. "What is this?" she muttered. Dad leaned in, brows knitting like he was doing math in his head. Kendra stepped closer, frowned. "Is this supposed to be a joke?" she asked. Her voice wobbled just slightly. Like, is this some kind of prank? No one answered. Mom sat down, not in a dramatic way, more like her legs just gave out. Dad leaned back in his chair, silent. Kendra stood frozen, eyes locked on the box. Her face went visibly pale, and the room went quiet. Not the cozy, post-dinner kind of quiet, but the kind where the air freezes because something irreversible just happened. "This can't be real," Mom finally said. Where did you even get this?" Dad began, but never finished. I didn't say a word. I just stood there watching. Kendra turned on her heel and walked out. Second later, slam, bathroom door. Dad looked at Mom. Mom looked at me. No one spoke. I stood. "I'm heading out," I said, too calm. Mom opened her mouth, but nothing came out. And all I could think in that moment was, finally, you're looking at me like I exist. I think there are 2 kinds of families. In some, every child is like a new book on the shelf, its own cover, its own story, all loved in their own way. In others, there's one favorite book, and the rest are just placeholders. I was a bookmark, or a bookend, or that annoying promotional flyer you toss out before even reading the first page. In our house, it was always clear who the son was. Kendra. Me. I was the atmosphere, the backdrop, the shadow. Pick a metaphor. They all work. In elementary school, I once got a certificate for outstanding progress in math. I brought it home, buzzing with pride, taped it to the fridge right next to Kendra's figure skating trophy. 2 days later, my mom took it down to make space for the grocery list. "You'll get another one," she said, without even looking. I didn't. My dad sometimes tried to say something, but whatever it was always died halfway out of his mouth. Once he gave me a book about astronauts and said, "If you work hard, you can be like them," to which my mom added, "You want her floating alone in space? She already only gets letters from her teacher. Then, should we just go ahead and ship her into isolation?" That was our family's sense of humor. Even a kid's book could turn into a jab. Hilarious, right? After that, all the books went to Kendra. She was a great student, meaning she had C's in physics, but everyone said it was the teacher's fault. Too boring. I always had a complicated personality. That's what Mom told the neighbor when I wasn't invited to a classmate's birthday party because, according to Kendra, I didn't match the vibe. I never matched the vibe, especially not in our family. In middle school, I got into coding, found a free course online, built simple apps. One day I showed Kendra a game I'd made. She held my phone like it was sticky. "Well, it's cute, kind of boring, and the color scheme is intense," she said. Mom nodded behind her. I tried not to take it personally, told myself I just needed to grow up, that once I got into a good college, everything would change. Spoiler, it didn't. When I told my parents I'd gotten a full scholarship to a solid school with an engineering program, they said, "We're proud of you, but you understand the timing isn't great, right?" Kendra had just decided she wanted to apply to art school in LA, a private one, a very expensive one, so I deferred for a year. I worked, barista, at a hole-in-the-wall cafe, food delivery, basic websites. I did everything, but my name was never on anything. When I finally did go to college, they helped. They sent a card, no money, no note, just a picture of a butterfly with the words, "You hatched, now fly." No, really. Sophomore year, I couldn't pay rent. I texted my dad. He replied, "Sorry, things are tight. We just paid for Kendra's new camera." Of course cameras matter, especially when you're an aspiring Instagram photographer taking moody shots of fruit in soft blur. I stopped texting after that. I just disappeared. Once in a while, Mom would still send things like, "Hope you're doing okay. Kendra's in Paris right now. So proud of her." Or, "The neighbor asked about you. I said you're into computers. Hope I didn't lie." I wasn't even mad anymore. It didn't hurt. It was just like a draft, chilly but bearable. So I built walls out of code, deadlines, and people who believed in my brain. Not my smile, not my outfit, not whether I looked better with my hair down. I got my first investment at 25. I didn't tell anyone. By then, Kendra had launched a candle business. Hand-poured ocean confidence and evening wisdom, all the aromas of success bottled in carefully curated lies, and a dozen fake reviews from her friends. One day I saw her post on Instagram, "Sometimes you just need to be with family, where you're loved exactly as you are. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for always believing in me." The photo, Mom, Dad, Kendra. I wasn't in it. I never was. One time I messaged Kendra, asked if she wanted to be part of a small side project, nothing public, just for experience. She read it and never replied. The next day she posted on her story, "Some people just want to use you as a stepping stone. Glad I see that now." I exhaled, deleted the chat, and decided I'd never again offer a hand to someone who sees help as a threat, not support. I built my company slowly, carefully. No hype, no press. I signed papers, found partners, built a team of people like me, people who'd been overlooked. My parents thought I was doing some freelance stuff. One time, I covered part of their mortgage through a lawyer, anonymously. They told their friends the bank made a mistake in their favor. Of course, it's America. Banks just give people mortgage payments sometimes. I watched from the sidelines, sometimes with pain, sometimes with disbelief, Mostly just tired, until that night. Until my dad said, "You're the failure in the family." And my mom added, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" That's when it hit me. It doesn't matter who you become. If they've decided you're the background, they will always see you that way. Inside the box I left on the table, the one they all stared at like it might explode, was a tablet. But right on top, laminated and glossy, impossible to miss, was the cover of Forbes magazine. Not the one where I'm smiling politely in a gray blazer. The other one, the one where I'm sitting in front of a dark glass building, black coat on, shoulders squared, jaw set. The headline reads, "Faces of the Future, How Adela Hale Transformed Us Education." Smaller text just below, "Say Lin, a platform trusted by over 1 million students across 18 states." That was the first thing they saw. That Kendra, all frozen. Their faces looked like someone had just unplugged the software behind them. Dad squinted at the page like he was trying to figure out if it was Photoshop. Kendra let out a nervous scoff and reached for the cover, like maybe touching it would make it vanish. Mom didn't say anything, just stared. So did I. Finally, she looked up. "That's you?" I shrugged. Apparently. Dad, now tense. "Is this real?" "That depends," I said. "If by real you mean, do I own a company, employ a few hundred people, and give keynotes at the conference you ignored on Facebook, then yeah, real." Kendra gave a dry little laugh, forced. "Oh my God, what is this? Are you going to tell us you bought NASA next?" "No," I said, looking right at her. "Just one of the education contracts in Arizona." Pause. "The short," Dad narrowed his eyes. "But where did all this come from? You used to be a freelancer." I offered, "Well, yeah, sort of. Thanks for keeping up with me," I said. Mom picked up the magazine cover and brought it closer to her face. "This could be fake. I mean, nowadays you can print anything. Photo, building, title. Sure." I nodded. "You can fake anything, but I don't do fake. I build things that work." Dad sat down quietly. Kendra was still standing, stiff. Then suddenly, "Wait, I've seen that name. Cullen. You're the one doing computer literacy courses for adults." "We're a platform," I corrected. "That's one of our programs. We've also got college contracts." "Oh, and we were invited to TED last year, but you probably don't follow education trends." Kendra waved toward the tablet. "You're seriously saying this whole time you've been successful?" "No," I said. "I'm saying this whole time you were happy believing I was no one, and that worked for you." That's when the tablet screen lit up on its own. I'd set it to autoplay. I was tired of explaining. The first shot, a slow pan across a glass-walled office, monitors, teams at work. A narrator's voice. "Say Lin isn't just a startup. It's a tool that helps people across the country get a second chance." Then a cut to the stage. Me, in a black suit, holding a mic and saying, "When I was 20, no one believed I'd ever make it. I was compared, overlooked, ignored. That didn't stop me from learning. It helped me focus." The camera panned across the audience, some nodding, some clapping. "That's edited," Mom whispered. "That's a live stream from Tech Next," I said evenly. "You can look it up on YouTube if you don't believe it." Kendra sat down on the carpet, right on the floor. She stared at the screen like it was speaking directly to her. "I don't get it," she said quietly. "You never told us. Not a word. Why?" I looked at her. "Because every time I did say anything, you either laughed or treated it like it was cute, but meaningless. And then you'd post stories about how successful you were, and we both know who paid your rent in 2021. Mom turned to her. "What?" "Yeah," I said. "I paid Kendra's rent for 3 months." Dad opened his mouth, closed it again. The video kept playing, testimonials from teachers, students, adult women who got certified and found work through our platform. Mom staggered a little, sat back down. "I don't understand," she said. "You didn't call. You didn't write. Not even for Christmas. Did you ask?" Silence. "Did you ever ask Adela, 'How are you?' without comparing, without snide little comments, without, well, Kendra, just ever?" Mom said nothing. I pulled another sheet from my bag, a printed form signed at the bottom. Termination of third-party mortgage contributions via trust. "And one more thing," I said. "Those lovely 6 months where the bank stopped sending reminders, that was me, through a proxy." "You mean?" Dad whispered. "Yeah," I said. "I saved your house, and now I'm giving it back. It's yours again, fully. Kendra started crying, real crying. No performance this time. Why did you do all this? She asked, barely audible. Why? I looked at her. Because despite everything, I still wanted to be part of the family. I wanted you to see me, just once. To see that I exist, that I'm not a mistake, not a shadow. But even when I stood right in front of you, you didn't see me. No one said anything. I turned off the tablet, placed it back in the box, put on my coat. Adela, Mom said, her voice trembled. I turned around. I'm not angry, I said. I'm just tired of being invisible. Then I left. From the street, I could still see through the window. Dad sitting in the chair, staring at the dark screen. Kendra curled up, hugging her knees. Mom saying something. And for the first time, I think they actually saw me. I naively thought they'd vanish, that after the tablet shut off and all the masks slipped, they'd at least pretend I didn't exist. But greed is a strange engine. It doesn't stop at humiliation. It keeps going. It started with a letter from the Hale family, sent through an attorney. I was sitting in my kitchen, finishing cold coffee, when I opened the envelope. Inside, a notice claiming I owed emotional and financial damages due to public defamation, failure to uphold expectations, and withdrawal of familial support. I read the sentence 3 times, then I called my lawyer. Is this serious? I asked. He snorted. It's ridiculous. But technically, they're not suing yet. It's more like an invitation to negotiate, wrapped in pressure. A common tactic. Scare you just enough that you'll pay to make it go away. Attached to the letter was a second document, a settlement proposal. It said in plain language, if Adela Hale transfers a one-time sum of $300,000 as a gesture of goodwill and compensation for fractured family ties, the family agrees not to pursue legal action or bring the matter into public discussion. They wanted hush money, payment in exchange for not painting me as the ungrateful daughter. There was even a clause about refraining from sharing private family details, a not-so-subtle reference to my recent conference. I could have ignored it, but I knew them. They wouldn't stop until they got either the money or a scene. So I made a decision. If there was going to be a war, it would be on my terms. 3 days later, they showed up uninvited. I saw them through the peephole. Mom in dark sunglasses, like she was dodging paparazzi, and Dad in his best church coat, which made no sense in June. I opened the door. We just want to talk, Mom said. You got everything, right? I did, I said. It's all with my lawyer now. Oh, come on. Does it really have to be through lawyers? She said, her smile tight. We're family. Family doesn't bill me for emotional damages. Dad stepped forward. We've lost you, he said. You just showed up out of nowhere with that show, the magazine, the presentation. We were shocked. Shocked that your kid's alive and doing well, or shocked that I stopped paying your mortgage? Mom inched closer. You have to understand. We've suffered too. Everyone's talking about you. They ask why you don't include us, why you don't help. You look cold. No, I look free. You must realize, Dad added, if this gets out, if people find out you turned your back on your own parents, it could hurt your business, your reputation. There was no more pretending. I nodded. So this is blackmail. No, Mom said quickly. We're just warning you. People might misinterpret things. I pulled out a document my lawyer had prepared. This is your official warning. Any further pressure, veiled threats, warnings, or manipulation will be considered blackmail and defamation. Your next move, we meet in court. Publicly. Mom went pale. Dad looked away. Adela, she said quietly, you don't understand. We're struggling. We've lost almost everything. We might lose the house. Oh, I understand perfectly. I checked the records. I was covering that mortgage anonymously, but not anymore. And if you try to paint me as the villain, I'll paint the truth. With quotes, with dates, with recordings. You were recording us? You're the ones who taught me to always plan ahead. They didn't say another word. I shut the door before they could twist it into something else. A week later, I got an email from a fake address. Attached was a news article, obviously fabricated, local gossip style. The headline read, While she talks about empowerment, her parents lose their home, how a tech star disowned her family. It was fake, but the line, if this ends up in the press, made it clear who was behind it. I took screenshots, sent them to my lawyer, and bought myself flowers, because I knew they were making their final play. The guilt card, the regret card, the you're ruining us card. But this wasn't a family dispute anymore. It was a cheap soap opera. The next day, my lawyer sent a final notice. Any additional attempts at pressure will be treated as intentional defamation. Legal action will be initiated automatically upon the next offense. And just like that, silence. No more threats, no more emails, no more letters, just silence, the real kind, the kind I had waited for all my life. A month passed, not a word from them, no calls, no letters, no anonymous threats. Even Kendra, gone, like she'd vanished into thin air. Silence, the real kind. Not tension, not pretending, just stillness. And then, right in the middle of that rare peace, the news dropped. The house was listed for sale. Below market value, marked urgent, property must go. I checked the listing on the agency's site, same house I'd quietly paid for, the one where I was treated like a temporary guest, pitied but never truly respected. Now it was on the market, all stripped bare. The listing said, needs cosmetic work. From what I could piece together, Mom had moved in with a friend. Dad was in a motel. I only knew that because an old family acquaintance mentioned it offhand, without realizing who they were talking to. And I didn't feel joy. Honestly, it wasn't triumph. It was the quiet aftermath. Because when you build your whole life leaning on someone you've already decided doesn't matter, and that person finally walks away, the collapse isn't their fault. Christmas morning, I slept in. No pressure, no one waiting for me to peel potatoes or fake a smile for the annual family photo. I was home alone, but not lonely. That day, a few friends came over, the kind who actually know my name, not the Hale daughter, not Kendra's sister, not probably in tech. We ate simple food, laughed a lot. One guy brought his dog, who curled up on my slippers like he had a job to do, and right in the middle of that harmless chaos, I got a letter. Old school. Gray envelope. Inside, a photo. Me and Kendra, smiling, maybe 10 years ago. I had braids. She wore headphones. On the back, in handwriting, I recognized, "You're still part of our story, even if you're trying to rewrite it." No signature, just the initial. I looked at that photo for a long time, not out of anger, out of stillness. There I was, the real me. And there she was, the one who always got the first word. I grabbed an envelope, slipped the photo back inside, wrote one line. "I'm finally writing my own." Then I sent it back. No regrets. In February, I drove to the mountains. No real reason. I just went. I watched the snow fall, listened to the quiet. No one telling me to be easier, no one asking, "Did Kendra wake up yet?" And somewhere between the silence and the sky, it hit me. I wasn't running anymore. I was home. I clicked into my hometown's online forum recently, by accident, just a random link, and there was a short post, anonymous. Sometimes kids leave, not because they're bad, but because no one ever saw them as anything but tools. I don't know who wrote it. Maybe Kendra, maybe no one from the family, but I hit like and closed the tab. Do you think I did the right thing? Would you have forgiven them? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the story, hit subscribe. My name is Adela Hale, and at 28 years old, I can tell you this. Sometimes the people you expect to build you up will try to tear you down. Sometimes the family you think is yours will choose one child to be the sun and cast the others into shadow. And sometimes the only way to survive is to stop waiting for their light and make your own. I used to think silence meant defeat, that if I didn't fight, if I didn't claw for recognition, I'd disappear. But silence can also be a boundary, a choice. The final word. When I walked out that night, leaving the tablet on the table, I thought the story was over. But families like mine don't let go easily. They'll twist, bargain, threaten, beg. And when all of that fails, they'll vanish. Not because they've changed, but because there's nothing left to take. It took me years to understand that their approval wasn't the currency I needed. Their validation wasn't food. Their love, conditional, sharp, always measured against Kendra, wasn't the kind that heals. What heals is recognition, self-recognition, looking at your own hands, your own work, and saying, "This is real. I built this. No one can erase it." I think about that sometimes. The night my dad called me a failure. The night my mom asked why I couldn't be more like my sister. The night they finally saw what they had tried so hard not to see. I don't replay it out of bitterness. I replay it as proof. Proof that I existed in that house. Proof that even if they never wanted me to be more than a placeholder, I wrote myself into the story anyway. If you're listening to this, maybe you've felt it too. Maybe you've been the bookmark, the bookend, the flyer tossed in the trash. Maybe you've been told over and over that you're not the sun. But here's the thing they don't tell you. Sunlight isn't the only way to grow. Sometimes shade makes the roots stronger. Sometimes being unseen teaches you how to see yourself. And when that moment comes, when you finally hold your own story in your hands, no one can take it away. Not your parents, not your sister, not anyone who once told you you weren't enough. I don't know where Kendra is now. Maybe still chasing retrogrades, candles, cameras. Maybe not. I don't check anymore. And my parents, well, houses sell, lives scatter, people move on. Or they don't. That's their story, not mine. Mine is here, with the people who stayed, with the work I built, with the laughter that doesn't require proof of worth, with the silence that doesn't hurt anymore. If you've ever felt invisible, hear this. You are not a failure. You are not a shadow. You are not a mistake. You are proof that even in the darkest corners, someone can still build light. And if you've been waiting for permission to step out of someone else's story and write your own, this is it. I'm Adela Hale, and this is mine.